Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on June 26, 2025. And I hope you like this little original mini watercolor painting. It's from Myra, and she lives in Sri Lanka. So it's just beautiful. But anyway, I wanted to ask ChatGPT about community orienting policing, the COP program, and neighborhood watch programs. I just wanted to hear what ChatGPT had to say about it. So here we go. So my question was, please tell me about community-oriented policing and neighborhood watch programs, and are they involved in hate crimes? ChatGPT responds, this is a very important and sensitive topic that many communities are beginning to reckon with more seriously. Here's a comprehensive look at how community-orienting policing, COP, and neighborhood watch programs can sometimes, intentionally or not, become tools for targeting, profiling, or enabling hate crimes, especially against vulnerable individuals. And I am so glad that the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has decided to defund the Department of Justice and reduce some of the funding, a lot of the funding, towards some of the grant programs and other programs. And I'm thrilled, and I hope it stays. So what is community-oriented policing? Now, think of it this way, before I get into what ChatGPT says, community-oriented policing. Now, I don't really know what a cop has to go through to earn his badge, and he probably has to go for target practicing and a couple of courses and a couple of months of training and training on the job and learning how to complete incident reports and stuff like that. He probably has to learn some of the laws. Now, people in the community, what do they know? All right, most of them don't have a college degree. They have not engaged in any kind of police training. Maybe they're cop wannabes. You know, they want to be James Bond and little Jane Bond with, I call them the bun babes because they drive around with the black windows and they're bun babes and their dark glasses. So what is community-oriented policing? Community-oriented policing is a law enforcement philosophy. This is the philosophy. This is their philosophy, the perspective that emphasizes building relationships with local residents, but not all, only a select few residents, certainly not all of the residents, only their buddies, right? Only people that are going to support them and not, the ones that are going to go along to get along. They have to solve problems collaboratively. Preventing crime through community engagement rather than punishment. Really? Oh, well, we could spend the next hour talking about how they don't prevent crime, how they commit crimes, how they commit misdemeanors, felonies. And they're the ones that should be punished. Actually, most of them, for what they've done to me here, they should be in prison for decades. Now, according to ChatGPT, the core principles include decentralized decision making. So that means the plausible deniability. So if the police, the sheriff's department says, oh, well, the neighborhood watch group or whatever, they're helping me. And then if they get into a pinch where they get sued, they're going to be like, no, we had nothing to do with it. It was their idea. And we're not protecting them anymore. Decentralized decision making. There you go, decentralized. So they don't want to take responsibility for all the crimes that are being committed through the community engagement. Their local residents, no. Accountability to the community, long-term trust building. Yeah. But not all in the community, only some in the community, not all. So what are neighborhood watch groups? Typically citizen-led groups. They're encouraged by the police to observe and report suspicious activity. Suspicious activity. Okay, so here you have a group of neighborhood people with nothing else to do. Some of them are on drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, medication, lower educational and economic status, and the cops, the police department wants those people to observe and report suspicious activity. Now, what is considered suspicious activity by a drug addict? I don't know. Leave a comment down below. It's meant to increase safety through community vigilance. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, community vigilante stalkers increase crime that's never reported by the sheriff's department. In fact, even when you report real crime to the sheriff's department, they fabricate the blotter and don't report the true crime that's happening because they're all in on it. And volunteers are usually trained to work with law enforcement rather than confront people directly. Well, evidently, my local neighbors have not been trained properly because they have been face-to-face confronting me directly. And actually, one of my most popular videos on my channel is my neighbor Mary, you know, the blonde-haired, the yappy, 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 big mouth, posting no trespassing signs on my property, saying, oh, well, we work hard for our money. I don't know where you get your money from. We work hard for our money. It's like, I don't need, that was the first time I ever met her. Imagine living here for almost a year, or maybe at that point it was more than a year, and meeting your neighbor for the first time by her posting no trespassing signs on your legally surveyed property. Yeah. But anyway, hey, we got a lot of likes and shares on that video, and in fact Neighborhood Wars on A&E April 11, 2023 loved it so much they decided to air it. So what happens? Where problems arise, they're singling out individuals. These are the problems with community watch groups. This is the problem with neighborhood watch programs. This is the problem with community stalking. This is the problem with community-oriented policing. They start to single out individuals. While well-intentioned on paper, these systems can be weaponized when 1. Prejudice, gossip, or bias fuel suspicion, race, gender identity, disability, eccentricity. Like my neighbors going to the only local vet and telling her to not take me as a client. And she told me flat out, recorded on my channel, well, you're not friends with my friends. No, I don't want to take you as a client. You don't want to take me as a client? Okay, so I reported her to the Kentucky Veterinary Board, and I never heard back from them, of course. And the Better Business Bureau, but actually, because I was never a client, it doesn't really hold. The great thing is that it's still on record. 1 or 2 neighbors may spread false narratives or complaints to police or watch groups. Oh, yes. My neighbor Mary, you know, the one with the big mouth who posts no trespassing signs, she's reported my burning trash 2 times to the fire department, wasting our tax dollars. When I was burning trash in my burn pit, probably an 8-minute walk away from her house, right? Probably an 8, maybe 5-minute walk away from her house, in the middle of my property. When they get here, they're saying, where's the fire? I point to it, and they shake their heads like, I'm sorry, I didn't waste your time, my neighbor did. The targeted person is often a newcomer, seen as different or nonconforming. I am different. And no, I'm not conforming. I'm not a sheep. I don't go bah, bah, bah. I can think for myself. I'm educated. I can think for myself. I think out of the box, and I have a different perspective on things. And actually, I've had a few people here tell me that I should have run for local government here so I could change things. Excuse me, I would never get voted in. But nobody knows what the hell they're doing around here, which is why this town will not grow. They won't grow because they've got people like these losers that are prejudiced. They gossip. They're biased. They target people who are seen as different or nonconforming, maybe living alone or without strong local ties. No, I do live alone and I don't have strong local ties. It doesn't mean I don't have ties. Do you think I want ties with these local people? Zero. I mean, it would be nice if there were anybody who was responsible enough, who thought out of the box, who was an upstanding person who didn't lie, who wasn't a Satanist. I might want to engage with those people. But everyone around here is a thief. They're all thieves, and they're all liars, and they're all jealous. And those are not foundations to form any kind of a friendship, whether it's on a personal level, a romantic level, a business level, at all. I have no interest. So how these programs enable harassment or hate crimes, and mind you, this is ChatGPT. Okay, so allegedly ChatGPT has an IQ of about 2,000. This is what I've heard recently. Like, it wasn't when it first started. When it first started, it was like less than half. And now, allegedly, ChatGPT has an IQ of around 2,000. So how these programs enable harassment or hate crimes? 1, informal blacklisting. Individuals may be labeled, quote-unquote, suspicious or, quote, mentally unstable based on hearsay, no evidence. 2, fusion, like fusion centers, with policing tools. Community watch tips may feed into the suspicious activity reports, the SARs, or fusion center databases, giving quasi-legal basis for further targeting, surveillance, or harassment. Number 3, group harassment, also known as mobbing. And by the way, mobbing is not only group harassment. Mobbing, technically, is a group of people, but generally somebody in a position of authority who can prevent it from happening, stop it, chooses to do nothing, engages, or turns the blind cheek. And that would imply law enforcement, county lawyer, any judges involved, somebody in a position of authority to end it, help, file an accurate incident report, chooses to not. They participate in mobbing. If a watch group or clique sees someone as a threat or a nuisance, they may coordinate constant complaints, noise disturbances, trespassing, and reporting the person for fabricated or exaggerated concerns. And I can check every one of those boxes there. And that was before I even met any of my neighbors. It started. Then it turns into privatized surveillance. Ring doorbells, trail cams, and online forums like Nextdoor, they're used to watch, discuss, and shame neighbors without consent, just like they did with Michaela Raines of Save a Fox. They formed a Reddit group, and they were harassing her, and even on my channel, because people are following her now and checking out the channels who are reporting on her. All the witches that were involved in cursing her and harassing her in those groups had the audacity to leave a negative comment about her on my channel, about how she doesn't take care of foxes, how she's this, how she's that, how she's this. I don't know, guys. When I was growing up, my mother told me if I didn't have anything nice to say about someone, to not really say it at all. Why would somebody seek out my channel because I was speaking positively about this woman's passing to leave that negative comment? And of course, when you go to her page, she looks like a shill. She's a cyber stalker. It's obvious. So the group harassment, also known as mobbing, is if a watch group or clique sees someone as a threat or a nuisance, they may coordinate constant complaints, noise disturbances, trespassing, and reporting the person for fabricated or exaggerated concerns. The privatized surveillance, Ring doorbells, trail cams, online forums like Nextdoor are used to watch, discuss, and shame neighbors without consent. Police collaboration. This is where it gets nasty. Some departments over-rely on watch groups, and they do not verify the reports being taken, which can escalate into a systemic form of abuse. So some of the real-world examples are Trayvon Martin. He was shot and killed in 2012 by George Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch volunteer who pursued him without cause. And this tragic event exposed the dangers of vigilante-style watch programs. Then, of course, everybody knows about racial profiling and wrongful police calls in gentrifying neighborhoods. They're frequently documented on social media and in civil rights lawsuits. You know, like swatting the wrong house because the assholes, I'm sorry, excuse my French, you know, these very educated SWAT teams, they can't read numbers on the side of a house or the name of a street sign. And even when they realize they've made a mistake, they try to cover it up. Disabled, elderly, or eccentric individuals have been wrongfully accused of criminal behavior simply for being different or misunderstood. It's sort of like the veterinarian, Rebecca Caleb Wilson, Annville Veterinary Clinic in Annville, Kentucky, refusing me services, said, I just don't get you. And you're not friends with my friends. Well, you don't have to get me. You're half my age, little girl. I could be your mommy. I could almost even be your grandma. You're not supposed to get me. You're just supposed to give me an appointment because I'm a paying customer and because you allegedly care about animals in Kentucky. Allegedly care about those mistrodden animals that are abandoned on people's property. Not Rebecca Caleb Wilson. Not her. Not that girl. Nope. Not that veterinarian. And what about the harassment laws? Constant surveillance, trespassing, and defamation may be prosecutable. Due process tends to be biased and bypassed. The community policing, quote unquote, sometimes functions outside the law with no oversight. And we all know that my favorite Bureau of Instigation, for all of those who are new to my channel, welcome. Do you know who my favorite Bureau of Instigation is? It's the FBI. Because that's what they do. They instigate trouble to create crime so that somebody could be on a list. That's why when they pull you over, the first thing they do, if you've never committed a crime before, show us your identification so we can place your name on our fake list. So just in case we, are predictive policing in the future, we may predict that you're going to commit some other non-crime in the future, like pulling over because you're tired, and rather than stay on the road because you're tired, you just want to take a little quick nappy over there on the side. And then, of course, police will drag you out of your car. You're parked here illegally or whatever. There's no due process. There's no oversight. So how do you protect yourself and others from this form of targeting? Document everything. That's why I have a YouTube channel. Dates, photos, videos, reports, trespasses, the names of the people. Then request public records. See if you're mentioned in any SAR or police logs. Challenge the false reports, and which I have to do through city council, legal aid, or an ombudsman. Avoid escalation. Stay calm but firm. Let the evidence speak for itself. Notify civil rights groups or attorneys, especially if there's evidence of coordination, hate speech, or profiling. So some of the resources and legal support. Now, I'll tell you that I've contacted them in the past, and they're not really participating in this anymore. The ACLU, the National Lawyers Guild, the Southern Poverty Law Center, Disability Rights and Fair Housing Advocates, and in summary, so the ideal use of the Cop Watch program is community cooperation, crime prevention, trust building, and safety improvement. How it's abused: targeting, group harassment, unlawful surveillance, profile mobbing, and enabling hate crimes like vandalism, trespassing, animal crimes, theft, illegal entry, threatening and harassing workers on your property to not work there. Otherwise, they're going to be part of your lawsuit because you're not allowed to clean my property because they have an agenda. The agenda is to filthy my property and make it look like I'm not caring for it when everybody's destroying my property around here. They all want a little bit in it because they're Luciferian Satanists. They're evil. Every one of them is going to the pit of hell. Every one of them. If you're experiencing this type of behavior or helping someone who is, ChatGPT can help me draft a formal complaint, create a timeline of events, prepare a civil rights letter to officials, which I've already done, request FOIA or police records, I've already done that, or write cease and desist letters to neighbors, watch groups, or departments, I've already done that, but I'm on my way to writing cease and desist letters to some other departments who claim they have no reports on me. How's that possible when I've filed so many complaints? How is it possible that the fusion centers have no records on me at all? It's not possible. Leave a comment down below. Have you written any cease and desist letters to your neighbors, your watch groups, the stalkers? Have you FOIA requested your police reports, and have they been accurate after you receive them? Have you ever prepared a civil rights letter to officials? Your senator, your mayor, etc. Have you ever drafted a formal complaint? And I know that so many of you have created YouTube channels, documented your evidence, photographed and stuff, so I applaud you for doing that. So leave comments down below. If you found this useful, please share, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon.